Hold on 1 second. Just 1 second.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege, I think, of hosting the Locked On Kings podcast. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News. And Kings fans, the good news is there's only 81 left. One down, 81 to go. We'll be through it before you know it. What a disaster. What a disaster. Man, they really did it to us game one, huh? They really blew a 20-point lead and went from having one of the best halves they're capable of having to completely and utterly falling apart, blowing a 20-point lead and losing in Phoenix 120 to 116. Now, I know it's one game. I know that there's still 81 to go and there's still plenty of time and plenty of opportunity mathematically for the Sacramento Kings to have a good season, to make the playoffs. Hey, if you can take what happened in the first half and bottle that up, and if Doug Christie can find a way to get this team to play like that for 4 quarters or as close to 48 minutes as possible, now we're cooking. What about this roster makes you think that's going to happen? Why should I believe it's going to happen? You know and I understand that Domantas Sabonis didn't play in this game. And the Sacramento Kings were absolutely butchered on the glass because Domantas Sabonis did not play in this game. For those of you who aren't the biggest of Domantas Sabonis believers, and for the national media members out there that say that it's tough to win with Domantas Sabonis, that he's not a rim protector, that he's not a good defender, keep making your points all you want to. But part of being a good defender is closing out a defensive possession with a rebound. And Domantas Sabonis is and has been the best defensive rebounder in the league. And when he doesn't play, this is what happens. The Sacramento Kings give up 18 offensive rebounds and a total of 28 second chance points to the Phoenix Suns. They got 21 second or third chance shot opportunities. Scored 28 points off of that. So it really makes you appreciate how important Domantas Sabonis really is to the Sacramento Kings on the defensive end, doesn't it? But even though he didn't play, even though Keegan Murray didn't play, who's your second best rebounder and arguably the best defender on the team, there is zero excuse for blowing a 20-point lead. I understand 20-point leads today aren't the same as they used to be. I understand basketball is a game of runs, and things can change quickly. But what we saw Phoenix do in the second half of this game is not going on a run. We saw them completely take over. We saw the Sacramento Kings take their foot off the gas. We saw the Sacramento Kings lose the fight. And we talked about this during preseason. Doug Christie made it very clear after the first game of the preseason when the Kings got beat by the Toronto Raptors. Doug Christie said, "We will not lose the fight and lose the game again. We cannot. We will always win the fight. Sometimes we will lose the game, but we will always win the fight." And the Sacramento Kings weren't just winning the fight in the first half. They were beating the Suns up and taking their lunch money. And in the second half, they got the swirly and they got shoved into a locker. There's no way that they can claim that they won the fight tonight with what happened in the second half. I don't care that Domantas Sabonis and Keegan Murray didn't play. This wasn't the Oklahoma City Thunder that just woke up and dismantled you. This is a Phoenix Suns team that, I'm sorry, is not good. And I don't intend that to be disrespectful for the Phoenix Suns, because the Suns are not good, and neither are the Sacramento Kings, apparently. Had Keegan and Domas played, would the Kings have won this game? Maybe. I don't know. I don't care. Nobody feels sorry for the Sacramento Kings for having injuries, just like nobody feels sorry for the other 29 teams in the league that have injuries. This is a game. Game 1 of 82. This is a game that already we can tuck into the back of our brains and reference every single time we talk about the Kings being in any sort of race, whether it's for the playoffs, the play-in, whatever. We always talk about, if they had just won this game here or this game there. First game, we already have the perfect one to reference. The Kings were up 20 in Phoenix on opening night, and they completely collapsed, and they blew it. If the Kings miss home court advantage in the play-in by a game or two, we know what game to point to. If the Kings miss the playoffs and fall into the play-in by a game or two, we know what game to point to already. So shout out the Kings, I guess, for getting that part out of the way. I want to be able to talk about how great that first half was, because it was sensational. From the offensive play of Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Malik Monk, to the way the Kings as a team were defending. It was phenomenal. And this game is a perfect example of what Doug Christie told us at one point during either the preseason or training camp. I don't remember. But Doug Christie was telling us and shared with us that he turned to the team, and at one point he said, y'all messed up now. Y'all messed up because you showed me you could do it. Y'all messed up, Kings, because you showed your entire fan base that you could do it for an entire half. You showed the entire fan base that you were capable of playing Doug Christie's caliber of basketball for 24 minutes. And I don't care that it was against the Phoenix Suns. The Sacramento Kings need to be able to do it against everybody and anybody, period. And anytime they do, it is cause for celebration or worth pointing out, because the Sacramento Kings are their own worst nightmare. They're their own nemesis. Credit to the Suns for fighting back. Credit to that crowd for sticking around and giving them energy. All that nonsense, whatever. Good for them. This is the Sacramento Kings lost to themselves. The Sacramento Kings destroyed themselves. They blew it. They blew it. And there's no point in trying to sugarcoat it with, well, the first half was good, and once they get healthy, it'll probably be better, and that wouldn't have happened if this guy was here, and this and that and this. Doesn't matter. It did happen. Reality struck immediately. This team had an opportunity with a big lead, and then it got cut down to like 13, 14 points. Doug Christie calls a timeout. Thought it was a great timeout. Timeout, regroup, and I said at the time, this is a big moment in this game. Will the Kings come out of this timeout and retake control? This was like midway through the third quarter, and the Suns were going on their run. That timeout didn't matter. Doug ended up taking like 2 or 3 more timeouts from that point before the Sacramento Kings got any sort of semblance of offense and good basketball going again. And by that point, they were down by 9 in the fourth. The Kings beat themselves. They lost the fight. I don't think they gave up. They just took their foot off the gas. They fell apart. They showed that they're apparently only capable of playing well for 24 minutes, not 48. And any team in the league, even the Utah Jazz, who beat the you-know-what out of the Clippers tonight, even the Washington Wizards or the Charlotte Hornets, or whatever team you want to think is worse than the Sacramento Kings, even those teams will beat you if you only play 24 minutes of good basketball. I'll find a way to talk about the positives of this first half. We'll get there, and I'll talk about it later on in this show. But right now, I mean, everybody everybody has to look in the mirror. Every single person. Drew Eubanks had, let's see, how many blocks did he have? 4 blocks in this game. Drew Eubanks got off to a pretty bad start. His first couple of minutes weren't very good. Rest of the first half, I thought he was really solid. He showed up as a rim protector, had some good moments. Great. Drew Eubanks was so unplayable down the stretch of this game that Doug Christie went to Dylan Cardwell. He went to his undrafted two-way player rookie in the clutch time of a close game that mattered because his starting center is out, Maxime Reynaud isn't ready, and Drew Eubanks didn't have any sort of pressure or presence on the glass. He finished with 4 total rebounds. The Sacramento Kings were led in rebounds by Nick Clifford with 8, a rookie who started. We'll talk about that later on. I'm glad he started. 8 rebounds by Nick Clifford. He's 6'6", by the way. They also got 6 rebounds from DeMar DeRozan, 6 rebounds from Russell Westbrook. So your 3 top rebounders were 6'6" or shorter, essentially guards/wings. Now, I know rebounding is a team stat, and we put a lot on bigs, 4s and 5s, to rebound the basketball. When this game was completely unraveling, when Dario Saric and Maxime Reynaud were on the floor, that's a 7'1" guy and a 6'10" guy who had absolutely zero presence on the floor. Could not secure a rebound, period. I'm sorry, I'm not blaming the guards for that and saying a team rebounding. If Maxime Reynaud, 7'1", is going to be on the floor, you have to rebound the ball more than 4 times in 11 and a half minutes. You can't be getting killed on the glass if you're the 7'1" guy on the floor. Max isn't ready. He isn't ready. That's fine. He's a second round pick. It's fine. He's kind of forced to play in this game because Domantas Sabonis is out. So I'm not saying Doug Christie made a mistake with his rotations or anything like that. Maybe we could get nitpicky about some of his lineups, but his entire team fell apart. The entire team. Like Zach LaVine picked a god-awful time to start chucking bricks in the fourth quarter. DeMar DeRozan finally woke up when Dylan Brooks got in his face and started talking ish. Like, this is a team collapse. Russell Westbrook was not good in his debut. He wasn't. Devin Carter couldn't even get into the game. Keon Ellis only played 13 minutes. Thought that was Mike Brown's fault. Mike Brown, by the way, who won his first game with the New York Knicks, by the way. The Knicks getting a win, even though they're banged up and they're shorthanded. They got a win with Mike Brown. Congratulations. Don't even bother killing yourself by looking up what Davion Mitchell's stat line was for the Miami Heat tonight. Almost had a triple-double. But whatever. No worries. Just pouring salt in the wound. I don't know, man. I don't know. I want to try and be able to focus on that first half and just go, God, that's a rough one, but you got plenty of time to bounce back. But it's a gross, gross way to start a season. It's a gross way to start a season. I'm not hitting the panic button necessarily. I'm not ready to call it over and bring out the tank or anything like that. I know some of you are. That's fine. You can do that. You have every reason to after this game. I'm not there yet. But you're going to have to give me a good night's sleep to get over this one. In fact, I might walk into the Golden One Center on Friday night against the Utah Jazz and still feel gross. Let's try and talk about the positives of that first half when we come back. This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, and no BS. I said yes to making the switch to getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it so much simpler. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your old phone and keep your same number and contacts over with you. You're getting the same quality service that you had before, but for a fraction, and I mean a fraction of the price. The setup is super easy. You keep your number, and they are running your minutes right away. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. Upfront payment of $45 is required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Locked on Kings is also brought to you by RobinhoodYou. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. That's where RobinhoodYou comes in. RobinhoodYou.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. RobinhoodYou makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit RobinhoodYou, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. Again, that's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. Don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know that we sent you. RobinhoodYou, stop making excuses and start making moves. I'm going to do my best to put away the anger and frustration and whatever from that second half and just try and focus on the first half as much as possible here. I loved the choice to start Nick Clifford. I loved it by Doug Christie. I give him full props for that decision. That's not an easy decision to make. It's 100% the right decision. Was Nick Clifford phenomenal in this game? Not necessarily. He had 2 points in 23 minutes and 41 seconds, but had 8 rebounds, like I said, leading the team, a couple of assists, 2 steals, and a block, only turned the ball over once. Nick Clifford did his job. He looked good as a rookie. Could be better? Of course. Would love to see him score more? Sure. Only took 2 or 3 shots in this game. But the decision to start Nick Clifford is the right decision regardless of size. And it's not Nick Clifford being in the starting lineup that's the reason why the Kings got destroyed on the glass. When the bigs were in the game, they weren't rebounding the basketball either. Starting Dario Saric in the place of Nick Clifford doesn't change anything. In fact, I think it makes the Kings' start to this game worse than what it was. Nick Clifford was solid. I think he should continue to start for Doug Christie and the Kings tomorrow or Friday night against the Utah Jazz. He deserves it. He's the right choice. Think about it in terms of floor and ceiling, right? Maybe Nick Clifford's floor is lower, or at least maybe it was coming into this game, than a Dario Saric, because Dario Saric has actual NBA experience. Nick Clifford doesn't. But Nick Clifford, just ask yourself this question. Who's part of your future? Nick Clifford or Dario Saric? It's not a hard question. It's Nick Clifford. Dario Saric is not part of the future of this organization, period. Nick Clifford is capable of doing the job now, and someone that you view as part of your long-term future. It's a no-brainer to me to start Nick Clifford. I've made that argument since Keegan Murray got hurt. So I'm glad he got the start tonight. It was really, really good to see. Zach LaVine, and I'm going to do a podcast on this tomorrow once I feel a little bit better. I believe Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis have the potential to be a better duo together and have a better two-man game than De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis ever had. And Zach LaVine, I share with you, is the guy that I had the most confidence in coming out of training camp. I was very impressed by him in training camp. He was shooting well, and he showed it in tonight's game, or at least in the first half. And defensively, I was like, wow, I'm seeing something. I was telling you guys, like, I'm seeing something. I saw it during preseason. I hope he shows you. He showed it in the first half. He absolutely put the clamps on Devin Booker. Zach LaVine was staying in front of Devin Booker, contesting every shot, playing really, really good individual defense. And the Sacramento Kings as a team were communicating really well on the defensive end. They were staying in front of their man. They were forcing tough shots, rotating, communicating. It looked great. Sure, the offense for the Phoenix Suns looked terrible too, but we saw what the Phoenix Suns offense was capable of in the second half. If anything, I guess that should make you feel even better about how well the Kings played defensively in that first half. They played really, really good. Again, they messed up. They showed Doug Christie and they showed all of us they're capable of doing it. They just stopped doing it or weren't able to do it at all in the second half. But really, like the problem with the second half, like, Matt, focus on the first half. You're supposed to be positive. The problem with the second half was the Kings just couldn't score. Sure, they gave up 66 points. That's way too many points in the second half. But in the first half, in the second half, they also scored just 45 points as a team. Like, offensively, if you're not going to score, this team's in big trouble, regardless of what the defense is doing. But in the first half, the Kings outscored the Suns 71-54, including a 42-35 second quarter, held the Suns to just 19 points in the first quarter. There was so much good. So much good. DeMar DeRozan, 14 points, only missed one shot in the first half. Zach LaVine, 22 points on 9 of 13 shooting in the first half, while also playing great defense. Malik Monk coming off the bench and scoring 13 points in less than 13 minutes, 5 of 6 shooting, 3 of 4 from three-point range, looking like the 6th man of the year candidate that we know he's capable of being again. God, I wish I could just talk about this first half. The Kings shot 64% from the field as a team, 53% from three-point range. They didn't do a good job taking care of the basketball. They had 11 turnovers in the first half, but they weren't letting it kill them. To me, it showed their offense was really good, and it had the capability of being even better when they clean up the sloppiness. It was so good. Plus, the Kings' defense, they had 8 steals as a team in the first half, 6 blocks as a team in the first half, had scored 12 fast break points, 11 second chance points, getting out in transition, scored 15 points off the Suns' 9 turnovers. Like, that's a first half that I could not wait to celebrate. Like, secure the game, win the game in the second half, shut this thing down early so we can talk about how great this team looked and how much momentum they built for themselves and going into Friday's home opener, and okay, this is what they're capable of, giving us a renewed excitement for this team, and maybe they can be something this year. It does not matter. It does not matter. It was in a loss. Now, understand this. If the average age of this roster and the top guys playing was 24 years old, 25 years old, then I could feel better about, take that first half. See, there's potential there, right? There's all the potential in the world. Look what they did in the first half. They're young, but they showed they can do it. Imagine when they get better. This is the 3rd oldest freaking team in the NBA, y'all. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Russell Westbrook all played in this game. And they blew it. Like, we're not talking about a young team that has to learn how to win. Talking about a veteran team that completely fell apart. So much for me being positive about that first half. God, there was so much good in it. I was so excited to talk about it. Leave it to the Kings to kill that joy. This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by SKIMS. When I found out SKIMS was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I knew I had to give it a try. And, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with finding the perfect underwear, right? You sometimes have to sacrifice one for another, but fit, comfort, style, you get it all with SKIMS. SKIMS changed it all. The men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I tried, and I'm wearing right now, the SKIMS Stretch 5 boxer briefs. They're so comfortable for sitting around recording a podcast, pacing back and forth while watching a Sacramento Kings game, chasing my son around the yard, or playing around a golf. It handles everything that life throws at me. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. Shop SKIMS Mens at skims.com. That's SKIMS.com. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select Locked On Kings or Locked On NBA in the drop-down menu that follows. So where do the Sacramento Kings go from here? Well, we got 81 games left no matter what, and I have to imagine that plane ride home to Sacramento, it's not a long one, but it's going to be a quiet one. You know, we've heard now a couple of times in practice and at media day, DeMar DeRozan referencing the narrative around this team and how that pisses him off, and you got to find fuel, and that's good fuel for us. And Russell Westbrook shared in his first press conference with us that he was He was most intrigued with this roster by the doubt that people had in it. The noise just increased tenfold. Most of the national media wasn't watching this game, thankfully. They were too busy watching Victor Wembanyama put on an absolute show in Dallas. Wemby is insane. The league is cooked. But those who did pay attention and watched at the end of this game when all the other games were over saw exactly what they needed to see to confirm their beliefs and reinforce others. Any national media that talks about the Sacramento Kings tonight or tomorrow is going to have even more ammo. And local media like myself is going to have ammo too. And you know what? If somehow DeMar DeRozan gets wind of this podcast and it pisses him off, good. Like, I hope it's motivating, because I'm not, like, I shared this earlier on social media today because I was trying to talk about the belief that I have in Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis as a duo. And actually I am genuinely excited about those two, and genuinely excited about a full season of Zach LaVine here in Sacramento. Y'all know I hated that trade when it happened. I was miserable on this podcast from December of last year, the moment when Mike Brown was fired, through the remainder of that season. I was miserable. And some people liked that content. Some people hated that content. I hated it. I was right about almost everything that I talked about from the point Mike Brown was fired last season. I was right about all of it. I don't care. Being right wasn't fun at all. I don't want to be miserable. I want this team to succeed. I want to have fun. And I think this team has the capability of being fun. Again, they showed us 24 minutes of really good basketball. I think the Sacramento Kings, even without Domantas Sabonis and Keegan Murray, would have been leading at halftime against 29 other teams in the NBA with the way that they were playing in that first half. I'm not saying they would have won the game, but they would have been up at halftime, I think, against any other team in the league with how they played in that first half. We know they're capable of doing it. But it's just performances like this and moments like this, it's hard not to allow it to take the wind out of your sails. So if what I have to say or what people have to say on the radio or whatever is motivation to the Sacramento Kings, great. Find whatever you need to be motivated to play like you did in the first half for as close to 48 minutes as possible. I know playing 48 minutes of great basketball is very difficult for even the best teams to do. But you can't completely fall apart the way you did in the second half. Anybody and everybody in their right mind can admit that. Everybody has to look themselves in the mirror. Doug is going to take ownership and responsibility on himself. That's what a good coach does. He's gonna. But Doug can't force his guys to grab rebounds. The bigs have to look at themselves in the mirror and go, I didn't do my job. Russell Westbrook has to look himself in the mirror and go, yeah, I didn't play any preseason. I'm a bit rusty, but I didn't play well. Dennis Schroeder, I think, had a pretty solid game in total. Dennis Schroeder had 14 points, 6 of 13 from the field, 7 assists. Like, he wasn't bad. Also had a couple of steals, but he knows he could be better. Zach LaVine chucking up bricks in the fourth quarter. For some reason, he couldn't hit a shot when it mattered down the stretch. By the way, the Kings, I think, should have one more point than they do in this final score, because he hit a 3 at the end, not a 2, but they never gave it to him. DeMar DeRozan certainly knows that he can improve. Like, everybody on this roster needs to look in the mirror and realize they all could have done something significantly better to prevent that second half collapse from happening. Where do they go from here? I mean, I'm not in the plane. I'm not going to be in practice tomorrow. They're going to look at the film. They're going to get back to work, hit the drawing board, but I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about Friday's game against the Jazz. Again, the Jazz just destroyed the Clippers tonight. They're more than capable of beating you on your home floor. And after that home opener against Utah, the schedule gets brutal. Hopefully Domantas Sabonis comes back sooner than later, but he has a hamstring injury. Those are no joke, and you don't want to rush players back from that. Keegan Murray's going to be out for another 16 games probably, or around that. Remember the first half. Find a way to make the first half who you are, not the second half. Jekyll and Hyde team. It's not the first time I've said that over the years here on Locked On Kings. It was the most Jekyll and Hyde game possible. Who are you? Who are the Sacramento Kings? Which of those two teams that we saw play tonight in Kings uniforms, which of those two teams is the real one? All we can do is look to game 2 and beyond to answer that question, and the Kings are hopefully asking that question of themselves. No matter what, hopefully it's less depressing than tonight, but for the rest of these games, you can count on Locked On Kings to be there. Tomorrow's Locked On Kings podcast, again, after I have a night to sleep this off and hopefully feel a little bit better. I am excited to talk to you about what I see from the Sabonis-Levine combo. I do believe that can be better than Sabonis and Fox ever were. Truly, I believe that. And I'll share with you why on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Kings. But for now, this is so long. If you want to share your thoughts, feel free. Let it fly at MattGeorgeSack on Twitter. Email me, mattgeorgesports@gmail.com. Leave your thoughts in the YouTube comment section down below. Appreciate you as always. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. No beam tonight. There should have been, but hopefully we'll see one soon. Until next time, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.